Okay, so here I had started by peeling around 4 to 6 apples, and I placed them in a bowl and put them in the microwave to soften them a little bit. And then the recipe suggests to use a springform pan to put your ingredients, your batter in, but all I had was just a glass pie dish, so that's what I used and it worked fine for me. Next, with the apples, you're going to be adding some lemon juice. You can use freshly squeezed lemon juice or just from what you can get in the store in the bottle. And then you also use spiced rum, and that adds like a nice depth to the apples. And then you just let that marinate, I guess, for a little while. And then next I'm working on the batter for the cake and just adding all my ingredients. I'll be listing the ingredients down below for you guys. And then adding in the egg yolks. In this recipe, there's a lot of eggs. There's a few eggs within the batter, and then when you make the custard, there is a lot of eggs there. So if you're trying this for the first time and you're a little concerned if it's going to turn out, you could always use like the really cheap eggs. That's what I ended up doing for this first time. But you know, if you want your quality ingredients, then I would definitely go for some better eggs in the long run if you're going to be making it maybe for company or something like that. And there's also a lot of whisking here. You will see later on in the video there's a lot of whisking, and just this is a very patient, you have to be very patient with this recipe. If you don't take your time with it, you will probably mess it up. So just be really patient as you're putting all your ingredients together. Now here you're going to save about a cup of batter and put it to the side. And later on in the recipe, you'll see why you're doing this. And then after that, you're going to be adding, what do you know, more eggs. I think this is just more egg yolks for the recipe. Now you're at the part where you can add in your apples, and you're just going to stir this around for a few seconds. You don't want to over stir it. Then put it into your pie pan or your springform pan if you have one, and then just spread out the apples and make sure they're evenly spread out, just so it's not one huge clump. And then now we're back to that batter that we saved, and we're just thickening it up with flour, and we're gonna be pouring it back on top of the apples, and this just adds like a little bit more like cakiness, I guess, to the top of the cake, and it just makes it a little bit more rich, I guess you would say. But it did make it extra cakey for myself. And then here I am just doing a topping, and I believe it was just like cinnamon and brown sugar, and you mix it together and then just sprinkle it on top, and then it's ready for the oven. here is a part of the recipe where we'll be making the custard, and as I mentioned before, this actually comes from a different recipe. I liked the custard sauce better, so I decided to use a different recipe for the sauce. I don't know why I do that, but I a lot of times look through a bunch of recipes and pick and choose what I want, and then I create my own. But here I am just separating egg yolks, and an easy way to do that is to just you break the egg and then you kind of flip-flop the egg yolk back and forth in the shell, and then let the white part just seep out, and then the yolk you can put into another bowl. And this part of the recipe, you need to be really patient because you're going to be doing a lot of whisking, and you need to follow the recipe exactly as it says. Otherwise, you're probably going to end up with scrambled eggs, and I'm being serious. So just make sure you follow this part of the recipe to the T. Here I'm adding some sugar, and just to sweeten up the custard. So here comes the important part. What I'm doing is tempering the eggs. So the milk was it was frothing a bit, and so it's at a nice good hot temperature. And the idea is you're wanting to get the eggs into the milk. But if you do that just straight away, even if you take the eggs and you just start slowly pouring it into the milk, that can scramble them pretty quickly. So I'm just taking like a cup of milk, and it's hot, and I'm just drizzling it into the egg mixture. But you need to whisk, 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 and that is going to cause the temperature of the eggs to rise. But it's going to do it at a really slow process so that they don't scramble. And then here I'm at the point where I can pour the eggs into the milk because the temperature of the eggs have risen at a nice slow process and they haven't scrambled. And then you slowly whisk it into the milk, and you want to whisk for quite a long time to just make sure that it doesn't scramble on you. You're going to keep it at a nice even low heat, and that will give you what you're looking for, the custard that you want. Now here is the finished product. It was turned out into like a nice cake type dessert, and it's really nice and crunchy on top with the sugar and the cinnamon on it. And when you take it out of the pan, on the inside, the apple tart is really nice and moist and just gooey. And then you're going to take the custard and just drizzle it on top. And I am telling you, it was so yummy. I enjoyed it with coffee, and I don't even think I added sugar to my coffee. It wasn't super sweet, but just to balance out the flavors, it was just so good, and it's just a fun dessert to enjoy this time of year. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like this video, click and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.